a new show idea, Lubie.
Okay.
And it's going to be a show entitled Loan Shark Tank, where we have like 5 loan sharks on one side, and the people come in, these bust out degenerate gamblers come in, and they try to negotiate better terms on some kind of a loan and also secure the loan, even though their reputations may not match up with what would be considered spot on credit. And then you got some guy coming in there going, hey, listen, I'm looking for $600 at 2 points a week. I'm telling you, I'm going to pay you back. I know my reputation is not necessarily exemplary. And, then the loan sharks start picking them apart. It's like, well, what are you talking about, Johnny? 2 points a week. That's laughable. It's 7 points a week just to talk to me. What do you think?
I think it would be classic.
And you get the music going. The guy comes out. He's clearly in need of the money. And they get that dun, 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 dun. And you got some guy that looks like Vito. He's Mr. Wonderful's chair, and Mr. Wonderful's chair, and he's just looking at the guy like, what a watermelon.
I was gonna say you have to have at least one of the people or behind them, enforcers, at least either behind them or off to the side
with that face, that the enforcer always has. Like, let me at him. How about a little taste of pain?
The beginning of every episode, it's a guy that fucking didn't pay last week, so they have to send a message.
Shit beat out of him, yeah. He's in some trash can peeling himself out. Man, here's last week's deadbeat. What do you think? Did I get some money to produce this thing? Is somebody going to steal the idea? I was afraid to unveil it here on the show because I thought it was brilliant.
I think it's funny.
Loan Shark Tank.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Well, all right. Good to be with you. A degenerate Friday edition of the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, the handsome gentleman over there. The young guy is one Mike Lubie Lubitz, a very excited Mike Lubie Lubitz, coming off yet another successful rendition of his live trivia competition that takes place at Landlubbers in Plantation, along with the professor, who'll join us later on with a big board. Always a highlight. The professor was with me yesterday on our Bury Your Bookie show, gave out some college football plays. Where did this one end up, Lubie? The North Carolina-Minnesota game.
I don't know what he got it at. I saw it at 1.5 So if you had Carolina, you did cover.
Woo.
But, he doesn't get it like right at game time. So I don't know what
he might have mentioned 2.5.
Yeah, I don't know.
If he did, that's a tragedy, isn't it? Although, to win the game, period, was a giant stroke of luck. Now, I actually read somebody's logic. And you know how we feel about this. The more succinct, the more seemingly knowledgeable the logic is, the more well-founded it is. In handicapping, usually leads to defeat, does it not, Lubie? We've given a zillion examples of that over the years, either through Brent Musburger's Bury America campaign or the now Action Sports that I've been referencing. But the guy made a pretty good case for the under in that game, which I then turned around and recommended as one of my picks. Look, the fact that the guy did all the research on it, still, as we've seen a zillion times, how many times do we just say immediately when you see something like this, that they have math that not even Matt Damon in Good Will Hunting, as Will Hunting could understand in the movie, and that's what they're basing their decision on, whether to pick the Chiefs or the Ravens. Usually the play would be go the other way.
Yes.
But in this case, the guy was talking about how North Carolina has a new quarterback. They had Drake May, a first-round draft pick, and they couldn't put 50 points on the board combined against Minnesota last year. So why would you assume that there were going to be more points when they were trying to unveil Mac Brown? What was his strategy going to be? He's going to try and run the football. I didn't watch much of this game because it came on and it was delayed. I naturally was immersed in the U.S. Open, and how about this, Lubie? You talk about a sports result that was a shocker. If I told you that Carlos Alcaraz in the second round of the U.S. Open lost to some schlep, you would say, well, what do you mean a schlep? What kind of schlep was beating Carlos Alcaraz in the second round in straight sets and in convincing fashion, Lubie? I don't know that there was anything wrong with Carlos Alcaraz. What was funny about it is I watched the first set and into the second set. Alcaraz loses the first set 6-1 to a guy named Bodek. Let me see if I can get this right. Van de Zandschulp. Vanda Zan Schulp. It's VAN, another word, DE, like in DeForest, separate word, Zand Schulp.
Okay.
Bonnick Vanda Zan Schulp, the Dutchman. And the Dutchman, as if Alcaraz was playing in wooden shoes, I mean, just destroyed this guy. You could have made a fortune, I would imagine. This was like Buster Douglas Tyson type of odds. To bet this guy to win straight up, you had to be getting a phenomenal price. And if you bet him in straight sets, and that's the thing about gambling now, Luby, it's so insane, and it's getting into such infinite dimensions because not only, I mean, are you satisfied if you come up with this guy to win against Carlos Alcaraz, round 2, U.S. Open? A guy who just won the last 2 Grand Slams and was looking to make a trilogy of slams, I think accomplished by only 3 guys, maybe, where they had won 3 straight slams, 3 straight Grand Slams. Now, people have won the Grand Slam and won all 4 in a year, but I mean, this is quite an accomplishment. You would have to think, right, with all the competition out there, and then look at the level of competition. A guy named Vanda Zan Schulp can knock off the number 3 seed in the tournament and do it in straight sets. But are people complicating things now? If you had this guy to win, would you have also bet him in straight sets? You would have had to be one hell of. I mean, you talk about balls. How much would that have taken to bet this guy in straight sets? Round 2, U.S. Open. Guys going for 3 in a row. Federer's done it. Rod Laver's done it, and I believe Rafael Nadal.
Like, I don't know if he would win it all or not, but he's getting out of the fucking early rounds. Like, I don't know how you don't think for a second that Alcaraz isn't going to be.
He's going to come back and destroy this guy, even after his 6-1 first set. And that was the tone of the broadcast as Alcaraz put together a couple of winners. He had no winners in the first set. Imagine Carlos Alcaraz, one of the great shot makers we've seen. The guy's 21 years old. He's phenomenal. He's so entertaining to watch. He's a delightful young man. He seems to just be everything, the epitome of what you want an athlete representing a sport to be all about. All out all the time, never out of it, gracious in defeat. Although these things are starting to show some frayed ends, where you would have never, prior to, I guess, the last 6 months maybe, you would have never seen Alcaraz pitch a fit on the court. He misses shots. I mean, he smiles it off. He might say something to the guys in the box there, which is a whole new thing in tennis where you can coach.
Not talking.
And the coaches are right behind him. And you know what amazes me? I mean, when you see like a professional tennis player, now how accustomed are they to just striping the ball every time? You've watched guys in the park that are at a high level, maybe. You go out there and you play and you see a couple of really good guys on the next court or a couple of courts away. And you can't help but, even as you're playing your lousy game, trying to beat some old man with a drop shot, you're watching the people a couple of courts away and you're going, man, those guys are fucking good. And they're nowhere. They might be low-level college players. As I said, I mean, I used to go out there with my buddy Mark. We played every day. This is years ago. Probably had to be circa maybe as far back. Could it be 20 years ago? How old is Naomi Osaka now? Is she 30?
In her 20.
She's got to be in her 20s. She's got to be pretty young.
She's still decently young.
So maybe it wasn't that far back because I believe she was a 14-year-old when she was training at the Pompano Municipal Tennis Center, and we would go to get out to our court.
She's 26. She's 26.
Okay, so wow, she might have even been younger then. And we're watching this girl hit the shit out of the ball. I mean, just unbelievable. Working with a trainer and a couple of other players, and we stopped one day and said, "Hey, who the hell is that?" And the guy said, "Her name's Naomi Osaka," and we said, "Well, I mean, is she? What is she? I mean, a top junior? What the hell is she?" He said, "At the time, I think she was like number 458 in the world or something."
Oh wow, okay.
Which wasn't bad for like a teenager, but. Still, I mean, you would have never anticipated that. And you were watching her at that stage and thinking, look what it took to get to the point where you're winning Grand Salamis. I mean, it's not an easy accomplishment. But, wow, I mean, just to show you how tough it can be, this Vanda Zan Schulp, who I've seen before. I turned it off, though, Lou, because it was 6-1 first set. And you're thinking, all right, so the guy lost the first set in his opening round, too. Big deal. And what I was going to say is that we've seen him unravel. I mean, he's been smashing rackets and doing all kinds of crazy stuff he never did before.
I was like, yeah.
Is he losing it, Carlos? He's such a delightful person. You would hate to see this negative influence come into his game. I think he said that he was like fatigued before he played this match or something. But the narrative changed. I mean, and McEnroe and whoever was calling a match with him might have been Chris Fowler and McEnroe doing a match. If it was, they immediately began saying, as Alcaraz striked a couple of winners in typical fashion, here it is.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's going to be it. I actually turned away from it and started watching something else. I was watching a little football.
Yeah, there's tons of
Colorado failing to cover the point spread. That was great. On a backdoor cover, right? It didn't Colorado come back. They were down 11 and they came back.
I was watching. They were down 11. Were they? No, I was watching where they had taken the lead and they had the ball in the fourth quarter. So I stopped. It felt like North Dakota wasn't going to overtake them. So I North Dakota State. I stopped watching. I didn't realize that they had the ball and they could have just ran it out. And he was throwing still because he's Dion. Like I don't know.
We couldn't run the ball. The blowjob that Dion gets during all telecasts too is becoming it's wildly insufferable, isn't it?
Because their team sucks. I mean, North Dakota State was
they never show him throwing a beer over Tim McCarver's head, do they?
No, they don't show that. Was a power in the FCS. So even then, and they're a team you don't want to play game one. They're still not an FBS team. They're definitely not a Power 5 team.
Didn't look great.
And again, this isn't that North Dakota State. That coach left. They've struggled the last few years.
Yeah.
They haven't won a title the last 3 years. So they're not even that program. Like, they're your game one. You should house them. Like, they were pushing them around. Like, Colorado's defense sucks. And they have no run game at all. I mean, Travis Hunter's literally their entire fucking team. And
man, that kid made a couple of great plays.
Snap, there's only so long that's going to last. Like, the kid's going to fucking die. Like, the Big 12 is actually better than it was supposed to be. There's like 5 or 6 teams that are ranked caliber. They're not all ranked right now, but they're all ranked caliber. And Colorado's behind all of them. I mean, they can love them all they want. I don't see that team winning 5 games. Like, that team's not good. They may be worse than last year's team.
Times you had the Brandon Staley syndrome going. I don't know if this was on Dion. Does Dion actually make the calls during the game? Not necessarily calling plays. It looked like they had some offensive coordinator there. Right? I wasn't listening to it particularly attentively, and I didn't catch this guy. I'm assuming this guy was the offensive coordinator because it kept showing him before
the white guy.
After positive and negative offensive plays.
Yes, they have an offensive coordinator, and they have. I don't think once in a while he'll
run. Does Dion do anything? What does he do?
Once in a while he'll run over to a scrum of players and like sort of yell. No one will even look at him. No one pays any attention to him. And most of the time, he doesn't even have the mic down. The mic's up.
Yeah.
He doesn't even get mad. He's just like yelling to this. Like, he doesn't do anything. I've never seen a coach do so. When Bobby Bowden was an old man and people thought he was the guy that's just sitting at the watchtower, he did a hell of a lot more than what the fuck Dion does. Like, he doesn't do anything. Like, that's what's funny.
It's funny. It really is. I mean, the amount of it, you would think this guy was Lombardi, resurrected from the grave. The way that he's spoken of, the glowing terms for a guy that went 4-8 last year and essentially had a team just literally discombobulate during the course of the season after getting off to a remarkable start, which nobody really anticipated because they had one win the year before. So no matter what, I mean, he did improve the overall product, and the people are really into it, man. I mean, you wouldn't know they went 4-8 last year. You would have thought they won a national championship looking at the crowd.
Yep.
You're taking a North Dakota State, a paid patsy to come in there and take a beating, and your life and death to beat these guys, which the game actually ended at the 4-yard line on a Hail Mary that was short of the end zone that was caught by the North Dakota State receiver.
Jesus. So I tuned out the wrong time.
It wasn't, it wasn't really threatening a score, but, he did catch the ball at the 4. It was a long way out. I'm not sure that you could fault the quarterback for not reaching the end zone. I don't even think the players actually reached the end zone by the time he uncorked this thing. But by the smallest of margins, they end up winning that game. And you would have thought that this thing was coached by Nick Saban. I mean, just unbelievable. So maybe he's getting a lot of help. I have to say this: is it Shadur that is the quarterback, and Dion has 2 sons on the team?
Shiloh is the horrendous safety who likes to hit people illegally.
Oh, yeah, he picked up a very bad personal foul.
He's horrendous at covering, and he just lays people out like he's Steve Atwater, but at least Atwater did everything else. He does nothing else. He just hits people all the time. So he gets a lot of credit because he lays people out, but most of the time it's fucking dirty and illegal. And Shador is the quarterback that's very overrated, who's a nice quarterback, but he's not.
He's entertaining. He has some game.
He's fine.
Yeah.
And again, playing behind the offensive line, he's playing behind. He's
he's Gazara time all the way, man. He's running for his life. But I will say this: not only does he bear a very strong, at this point, physical resemblance to a young Dion.
Yes.
In his facial mannerisms and expressions, and
the curly ass hair,
the smile, and everything, and but he's an enormously likable kid.
Okay.
In spite of the fact that a lot of people, including you, Mr. FSU, seem to share a very negative opinion of Deion Sanders.
He's a loudmouth ass.
But we don't like phonies. Is that just it, Mr. Donald Trump? We just don't like people that are just all about representing something that is so distant from the truth. It's a joke that you would even try to get people to believe it, right? Like that business in the Arlington Cemetery. I mean, come on. We all know what Donald Trump thinks about the military people.
Well, duh.
Yeah. He would just as soon be a part of the movie I Spit on Your Grave.
Exactly.
Surprised he didn't.
I mean, in his own way, he did. Who's taking pictures with?
Basically, that's what he did. He's using a photo op in Arlington Cemetery with a thumbs up at some guy's grave. Like, hey, good thing you checked out. Get the fuck out of here.
Like, what is going on? It's so funny.
Tell me this guy wouldn't have, I mean, if he wasn't filthy rich and he was hanging around, he was just like a street kid, he would be the guy that got the shit beat out of him every day, for being an asshole.
The only reason he didn't get the shit beat
or
out of him.
embarrassing the gang that had no moral, barometer to go by anyway. I mean, guys that would do almost anything in the name of entertainment and fun, except hurt people. And he would be the guy that just pounded the fuck out.
Oh, for sure. That's the thing is, even the degenerate criminal have their own code, and he breaks even those. He breaks even the code of the criminal, where they're like, "What are you doing?"
It's so smarmy and small-mindedly disgusting. All of this stuff that the guy does with the Bible upside down. I mean, what are you people looking at?
I just love
Big Rich. What are you looking at? Big Rich.
He breaks laws at the right. Like literally, there's multiple restrictions and laws against doing any of the stuff that they did. and then he yesterday, and I give him credit. He doubles down on all of it when it's swirling, and he goes and does a presser yesterday, or one of his really poorly attended rallies. And he was bitching about the people working there who were actually doing their job, and his people were breaking the law. And he was bitching about them being not good people.
I like the fact that he's blaming Joe Biden for this kid taking a shot at him.
Yeah, there you go. It was his own guy. It was his own supporter. It was a Republican right-wing supporter.
You know what? I mean, from what I'm gathering, and I don't know that you can really conclude anything definitively, but I don't know that you can really figure out what it seemed like. This kid was just looking to do something. I don't know that it mattered to him because he was also researching supposedly where Biden was going to be. And the DNC, like he just was going to take somebody out. It seemed like,
obviously, but
this opportunity fell in his lap because he lived there in this fucking town. No,
100%, 100%, whatever.
Nobody said, "Hey, watch this, Dylan." Is it Dylan Brooks? What was Cooks? What's the guy's name? Dylan Cooks. Cooks.
I don't know the kid's name. Dylan Brooks is the NBA player.
Oh yeah, no, this is what the hell is this guy's first name? The kid. I've seen it like 1,000 times. I can't remember. Anyway, it's of no particular consequence except for the fact that it's interesting. I mean, how do you sit down in an interview and say, "Hey, you know what? Biden caused this whole thing to happen"?
I mean,
come on, Johnny. It's so ridiculous.
It was It was a guy who was a Trump supporter who did it, and also, like you said, had lost his mind and just wanted attention. Whatever. I mean, it's just funny that all the stuff he does, and look, the majority of people will have caught on by now. They're still the hangers on. But it's just interesting that there are still grown adults that will see the stuff he does. And if anyone else did it, they'd be,
oh my God,
they'd be aghast.
How are you not appalled, like for the millionth time over, Brian, with a good one, that I forgot about here?
I didn't realize
because it literally seems inconsequential because it's as insulting and stupid as it may be for anybody to say this in public, whether you're thinking it or not. But Brian says the day after the 9/11 attack, Trump was bragging that he now has the tallest building in New York. Does that not summarize this prick?
That's who he is.
What? I have to have an intervention for Big Rich. I mean, he sends me stuff every day about how wonderful this
Still,
guy is.
like how? Like
And I love the guy. You know what? I don't want politics to divide my
it
friends
sucks.
and
'Cause he's
me.
a really good dude. It's annoying. Like
It's just hard to conceive. I don't know. What am I missing here? 50% of the country thinks we're crazy, Louis. No?
oh, 100%. No, it's
Yeah.
not 50%. I think it's down to like 25%. But that 25 to 30 is hanging on really strong.
They're there, man. I mean, look, they put this guy in office before. And just missed the last time. And it wasn't like Biden was winning by any landslide, even though he had a lot more votes overall. Still, I mean, remember how nervous you were that, oh shit, this guy's going to win again.
Yeah, 100%. Yes.
And then you're just wishing he would go away with all of his criminal shit. And here he is, right back there, knocking on it. Oh, what is it? We're missing something, clearly, Louie. We really are. Maybe we should just, as people would say when we would mention politics in the past, why don't you stick to sports?
I'd love
You don't even know that.
This shit's getting in the way.
Yeah.
Everybody,
I don't think you can ignore it and still be part of
I
American
mean, it's
society.
it's like
Yeah.
they're bitching. I love it. They're bitching about interviews. Dude, she won't do interviews. First of all, I like our interviews and we have fun because we don't take them seriously. So we actually do get some stuff out of interviews the way we do them. But when you do the political interviews, you get nothing out of them. Interviews, press conferences, like they always clamor for these things. And then when these people do them, they're like, they said nothing. Duh. You're the fuckhead that wanted it. Like, who gives a shit about a debate, a presser, interview? The rallies do enough for me because at least, unlike Trump, when you do a rally, usually you say what you want to do, what your plan is, where you're coming from. That's all I need to know. And then Dana Bash. Dana Bash is like a right-wing loon at this fucking point. Like Dana Bash hosting an interview with Kamala Harris and like, what are you going to get out of that interview? Like, I think it's so funny. Donald Trump hasn't answered one question in 8 years. 8 years he hasn't answered one question. No. And these people want a goddamn interview. Like, get away from me with all this garbage. Like, it's just a waste of my time.
It's unfortunate that it's hard to have an overwhelming amount of faith in either side. That's the truth. But the one to me is just so appalling, and the threat I think is real. That the never mind putting yourself in a time machine. We will be in the Stone Age when it comes to.
I mean, I don't think at this point I don't see him not only
government.
I don't see him being even close, but the fact that he's just there, it's just so weird.
I don't think it's one of those things like with Alcaraz. Can you count him out, even though he looks like shit?
I guess not.
He clearly is not playing like himself. 0 winners in the first set against Van Du's old Schloop or whatever, Zan Schloop. Schlep. I always think of this guy as that Vanderschlepp guy, and I've seen him before. It's not like he hasn't won. I think the guy was sort of on the outside. He may have had to qualify to get into this thing, and he has been not necessarily at the highest level of the tour, but you'll see this guy as like a first round opponent. And you're saying, hey, you know what? That guy's not bad for a guy that gets knocked out in the first round of every tournament. And that's what we were saying. I mean, look. If you were calling for upsets in the U.S. Open, what if you had bet the underdog in every match so far? Would the Alcaraz upset to this guy be enough to at least break you even for the tournament?
Probably.
You would have to think. Nobody in their right mind could have foreseen this. But yeah, McEnroe and Fowler are saying, okay, there it is. I mean, it was great. And I turned away from it thinking confidently that Alcaraz would win in 4 sets. And sure enough, I saw the result later on. I was like, my God, you got to be kidding me. So that was a lot of fun. Osaka gave a good account of herself, took on a player named Muhova. You don't say the C. It's a but it's Hova. Muhova, who's been around, a good player, been up there. I don't know. I'm pretty sure she's been in the top 10 at different times and may be hanging in there now. But good match all the way through. So maybe she's making a comeback. Who knows? I mean, it's amazing how people get down on somebody, and she claimed that she was having, and who wouldn't believe her, right? She's saying she's having mental health issues, right? Meltdowns and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe sparked a little bit by Serena Williams and the absolutely humiliating performance that she gave in a defeat. Another one of those American icons. I sound like Phil Mushnick today, don't I? Am I just getting bitter? I don't know. I don't mean this in any kind of bitter fashion, but this adulation for Serena Williams. I mean, she crushed this girl, Osaka. When all she did was complain after Osaka won the U.S. Open and beat her in the final. And then I don't know if you remember this. It was not
Yeah,
that
the
long
whole
ago.
thing.
And
Yeah.
Serena screaming, "Oh my God, the fucking officials! This, that,
Yeah,
this girl did nothing.
They had won tons of majors. Like who cares?
It's like, how about being a little gracious there?
Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
I don't. I mean, but and people have had no empathy for Osaka, including us, Lubie. I think we might have made some critical comments about how this woman seems exceedingly strange. And who knows? I mean, maybe some of this has to be legitimate, right? It's talked about enough. Mental health issues. I mean, you've dealt with it, Lubie, in your own family, right? With your brother.
Yes.
So and people do things, and you don't understand it, and you tend to condemn them right away. But hopefully, she'll bounce back. I mean, would that not make for a better story than just seeing her disappear? She's also gotten married and had a kid, and is coming back from that, which. I don't know. How do women do it, Lubie? Can you conceive of having a baby?
No way.
And then coming back and playing like professional tennis at the highest level? Get the fuck out of here, man. That would be nice. All right, we're going to come back with the professor. We'll get into some stuff. He was all over the college football yesterday. Has some plays for today and tomorrow. And what are they playing all the way into Monday, Lubie?
Yes, there was like 18 games yesterday, or 20 games yesterday. There's games.
20
tonight.
games. Wow.
There's games tonight, games tomorrow, game Sunday, and game Monday.
I want to say that Rutgers was favored by 36.5, I believe. I'll have to go back and check this. And they won by 37. And they must have tacked a late touchdown on when the game was already decided, because there was like a minute to go and they had not yet achieved the cover. They get a pick six or something, or a fumble recovery.
No idea.
So a lot of crazy action and beats. And then you had a story when Andy made some score last night.
Andy is an amazing story. He was supposed to join us himself and explain it,
right?
Because it's literally your dream. He actually hedged to the point where he middled and won both sides in a miraculous fucking affair. The A's and the Reds game, he had the A's. Then he hedged on the Reds, but he left himself room in the middle where he could cover both bets. The A's were up. The Reds come back, take the exact lead he needs in the 6th inning. They hold that to the 9th inning, and it's like, oh shit, he may actually cover this ridiculous psychotic bet. And then the A's come back in the 9th and score too much to where they fuck his whole bet, but I think he was still covering 2/3 of it. And then the bottom of the 9th, the Reds come up. The shitty-ass Reds score exactly 3 runs, win by 1 run, and he covers the original bet, the hedge. He covers all of it. Ridiculous baseball bet on a goddamn Thursday night.
That is a way to make an otherwise meaningless baseball game.
Oh, no, Ken and I
the most exciting event that you've ever witnessed in your life.
Football on, and Ken's like, look. I'm like, holy shit, this fucking lunatic is hitting.
What was he betting? Exact scores? What the hell was this guy doing?
What did he bet?
Oh, my God. All right, we're going to run. We're going to come back with the professor. And, there is the professor. Very good. Professor, how are you?
Yes, congratulations to Andy on...
What the hell was that?
It's funny because he walked in and he's telling us about this wild-ass hedge he bet. And I'm like, well, you never know. No. Okay, so he took... I can't remember who he took for the first leg of the original parlay. He had that. And they had Oakland plus 1.5 on the run line was the back end of the parlay. It was going to pay 3-1. So he's asking me about these hedges. And he's like, well, yeah, I got Oakland, but they went up 4-0 in the first inning. I'm like, well, you look great. And he's like, well, I already hedged because I could take Cincinnati plus 4.5 at plus 350. And then I could take Cincinnati straight up for, I think it was minus 130, something like that. And so I'm sitting there doing the math. I go, well, if Cincinnati wins by 1, you cover everything. Wow. I was like, you never know, because there's been some wild-ass stuff in Major League Baseball.
Especially in the 9th inning, yeah.
The Marlins, hanging 4, I think, on Colorado the other day. And then the Cubs scoring 11 in the last 3 innings to come back against Pittsburgh in the Skeens game.
Yes.
And sure enough, that's exactly the result he gets is this wild-ass 3 different comebacks to hit exactly. So
only a stock guy could hedge in that fashion.
He middled.
But that's really crisscrossing some hedges. It's
Yeah.
not like you said, "Hey, let me take the field because we got Martin Keimer on front by 10 strokes." But
Oh,
just in case,
he just said in the chat he had St. Louis plus Oakland plus one. If I had known it was St. Louis, I'd rooted for you to lose. That's betting on the Cardinals.
oh my God! Wildness. I mean, it shows you it can be extremely entertaining. But there's you said it right away because we've discovered this to be true that the word parlay, the literal translation in French, is "you're fucked." And
Pretty much.
yeah,
Hey, every dog has his day, right?
yeah. Isn't that great when it works out? I mean, and
On a
it took
rare
a series of
occasion,
miracles.
yeah.
It was like your favorite betting endeavor, highlight back in the day.
It felt highlighted.
Exactly.
Where I need a series of miracles,
yes.
and then I need Joey to
And
overserve
there's
on a
a
playoff
3
point.
to go 3 times and then stop, and then the 7 to go twice. And then
Oh
stop,
my God! Remember
and
you're
then the
sitting
8
there
to
like,
run out, and I cashed the super.
how Meshuggah? Yeah. Hey, waiter, can you bring the check? You're trying to get out of there before the conclusion of the last game. All right, now we're going to come back with the professor and some college picks, and then of course a big board in just a moment. Now that it's 8:33.
Here, let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
We'll see what the professor thinks about this. You say he brought it up to you?
Yeah,
the
we
professor?
talked. We talked about this like a week. It wasn't even yesterday. It was last week we talked about this.
Yeah. I was unaware of this, Professor, but and thanks for joining us, Professor. This very curious temple game. I guess.
It is interesting that they tracked it, that well.
Yeah.
So if something did go on with Temple, I'm sure they'll be, and they, particularly if the players organized it themselves, I'm sure they left an electronic footprint somewhere and will get caught.
Something doesn't look right. You would have to say, and I guess who would be the investigating body of this
NCAA
type of activity? The FBI, the
It would be
NCAA.
the
I mean,
FBI.
okay, so they don't mess around. They're investigating supposedly 5 games,
I mean, they're not
and
100.
4 of them involve
They're
Temple.
not going to mess around with them.
Yeah, unbelievable. I
Or
was
whoever
unaware
left
of that
coke
until
in the
today.
White House. The FBI didn't exact. Honestly, I mean, let's be honest here. I'm not a Republican, but they got a point on some of these recent FBI investigations. I'm not trying to criticize the FBI. I think overall the FBI does a pretty excellent job, but should it be that hard to figure out who left a big old bag of coke in the White House? There's that much cocaine in the White House in 2024.
If my dog takes a
know
shit
that.
on the grounds here, believe me, they have a camera that will spot the fact that you did not pick it up.
I don't know about your
It will come
neighborhood.
up at the next homeowners association meeting, and there you are on film, standing there watching
I
this
don't know
dog
about
take a
your
dump.
neighborhood, but my neighborhood, they don't even need the camera. I've got neighbors who watch. That is their existence, is watching
I
dogs
hate
take
that.
a shit in their yard. So I'm just warning you, if RoboCop ever becomes real, the first RoboCops will be dedicated to dog shit in Lighthouse Point.
Yes.
Like,
Oh,
you
in
literally
Lighthouse
go out
Point,
and
forget
some
about it.
robot
man.
will pop up with,
Your
cat
dog
litter
can't
on
even
it.
fart in Lighthouse Point without somebody getting upset.
Cease and desist, canine.
The best way to kick off your day is with Defo plus Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
Skippy took a dump on the grounds here the other day on his way out to what I call the pooping fields, and he didn't quite make it there. So I had to I had to pick it up, right? Or at least
Did you actually pick it up, or did you do the fake out?
no, I didn't do the fake. I used to do that, but I don't anymore because it really isn't all that complicated when you get down to it. And I'm figuring
It
if somebody
depends on
else's dog.
it depends on the consistency, right? Like how hard is it to grab? Is it a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, this was pretty easy. It was a one scoop, no
I like
problem,
to
no
go
scent.
for the
Yeah.
fake out where I lead down, but then I just rub it into their grass.
Yeah, yeah. I know, and I don't have grass in front of my place. I mean, but this was in front of somebody's place that has a dog, and I'm thinking,
Right.
okay, I felt at least somewhat of an obligation to pick it up, and but it's almost as if when you're doing it, you're like taking a bow. You're hoping like people are watching,
Look what
and
I'm
they're like,
doing,
oh, look at that
everybody.
guy. He's a good dog owner. He picked up his dog's poop.
Yeah, nah.
But I swear, it does. It feels like
Well,
I'm taking a bow after a concert or something.
I've never felt pride in that moment. No.
No, it's not a prideful moment.
Yeah.
It is what
And
it
then I'm
is.
carrying
I
a
would say
bag
you
like it
felt
was
that,
a
yeah, yeah.
gold medal from the
Yes.
Olympics here.
Around
Hey, look
Look
at
what
me.
I have.
Yeah, I did it. I picked it up. You motherfuckers.
Celebrate me.
It is a strange, thing from a mental health standpoint, no doubt about it. All right, Professor. Last night, this guy was right. I mean, the under in the North Carolina Minnesota game seemed like a veritable cinch there from the start.
It did. We were on the
0-0 first
side.
quarter.
We had North Carolina. So depending on where you got it,
Yeah, where did you
it's
get it?
either a push or a very hard fought win. I personally got it at 1.5 hooks, so
Oh,
ended
Oh,
up
you
being
did you want on a hook? Oh, thank God.
but
Speaking of hook, how about that hook on that
others
field goal
taking
try?
others taking a push there. But either way, I mean, nice win when your quarterback gets hurt in the middle of the third quarter, and you manage to scratch out either a push or a victory. Either way, that's one where the push actually feels like a win.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, on the burial wrong side of the under on the Coastal Carolina Jacksonville State game is Jacksonville State's defense could not do anything. And then
When
Coastal
they lose by like
Carolina
40 in that game?
pulled the starters, and Jack State
He
got
had
some
the under.
offense
That was
late.
his problem.
Not just over, but way over for a loss there.
Yeah.
And then, the
You like
one,
North Dakota State, didn't you? With
all the
points?
bookies dancing in the street as supposedly the heaviest bet game of the week and the heaviest bet opening night game anybody can remember. Colorado goes in down on the side and looks like, honestly, same old Colorado to me.
They
Looks,
sucked.
I mean, I did not see anything to indicate that you can expect notable improvement out of the Buffaloes this year. The one thing I would say in that game is that was the first time watching that game where I thought, you know what, maybe Travis Hunter will play wide receiver instead of corner in the NFL. Because I'll tell you what, athletically and physically, he's still much more of a cornerback. But good God, does that kid have a set of hands on him? Like,
Yes.
Man,
it
what a
almost seems
catch
like a
that was.
waste to play him at corner when he's got hands like that. Not just the one in the end zone, but like, I mean, 3 or 4 catches throughout the course of that game. He's got a set of mitts on him.
Yeah, I mean, he snares his ball while he's being absolutely decapitated, and there was going to be no call on that, right? They didn't throw a flag.
Oh no.
I mean, the guy crushed him before he even got near the football, and he managed to somehow hang on to it. That was a great play. All right, anything on tap? What are you looking at over the
Quite a
weekend?
bit.
We have about 3 days worth of football going.
Quite a bit starting tonight. We talked about it, taking FAU, showing 13.5. It was 14, which is where I took it. Might bounce back up. This is strictly a coaching and where Michigan State is deficient play. We've talked to Special K a couple times. He expects FAU to be improved. I expect FAU to be improved just because another year with Tom Herman's system. He's obviously a very good offensive coach. But this is really about what's wrong with Michigan State, replacing all 5 starters on the offensive line. They do bring in a new defensive coordinator, Ricci from Minnesota, who you saw with Minnesota last night. Their game plan, not very aggressive. So maybe up that on the Sparty end. But new quarterback, new running backs, 2 new wide receivers, an entirely new offensive line. I don't see how you're laying 2 touchdowns to anybody, even if it were an FCS team in this situation. FAU is a level above that and figure to improve defensively, honestly, with 9 starters back, getting a couple touchdowns on the road. I don't, and historically Smith, although a very good coach at Oregon State, was not good as a favorite. We actually cashed a couple times against that last year. Laying 2 TDs here, I think that's way north of where it should be. I think Sparty's inexperience will show up in this game. I think they'll win, but I do not think they'll come even particularly close to covering 2 touchdowns. FAU plus the 14 tonight is where we're going to start.
All right, let's go Owls.
And then we're going to roll right in tomorrow to the noon spot. And I don't know why this line dipped overnight, but it dipped big. Georgia drops from 13.5 to 12 overnight against Clemson. I'm not really seeing the logic here. I know people are worried about Georgia offensively without Bowers, without McConkey. But I'm not sure that's going to be that big a factor in this game, particularly when you look at Clemson. Their depth chart at cornerback is just a disaster right now. All 3 guys injured in the last week of practice who figured to be their main starters. They may play as many as 3 true freshmen throughout the course of this game at cornerback. Georgia certainly got the offensive talent at wide receiver, even if it's not experience. And Carson Beck, by the end of last year, was as good at the quarterback position as anybody. Just ask Florida State fans what he did to their backups during the Orange Bowl. I don't think this is a good spot for Clemson. I don't see how Clemson's going to do anything offensively in this game. Georgia, of course, did lose a lot on the front 7, but Kirby Smart has reloaded that front 7 like 4 times in the last 5 years.
Yep.
And somehow they usually actually manage to get better. I don't think they're going to be as good at the defensive tackle position as they have been, but from what I've read about their scouting reports, they may be better on the edge than they've ever been, which is a scary proposition if you've seen Georgia over the last few years. I don't think this game is going to be particularly close. Maybe Clemson managed to hang around for a half because of their defense, but I think Georgia will lean on them, and in the end, will end up winning this game very comfortably. So at 12, I think you now sort of have to take Georgia with this line dip we saw overnight.
Excellent. Very cogent and in-depth analysis there, Professor. All right. Anything else? Or
Next game going to 2:00. That's Oklahoma State versus South Dakota State. Sitting there at Oklahoma State -10. A lot of people liking South Dakota State because they have become a powerhouse in the FCS. But I think they're pretty badly outmanned here by an Oklahoma State team coming in ranked at 17. I actually think is a little underrated. Their quarterback Bowman is actually in his 7th year now, and his 5th year.
7th year? Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Injuries and the COVID combination, he is a player who's getting a 7th year. It's actually his 5th year as a starting quarterback. Now, he's a 2-time transfer, but he started for him last year. Talking about a guy who comes in with over 40 career starts. Ollie Gordon, everybody knows, best running back in the country last year, probable top 15 NFL draft pick. An offensive line in Oklahoma State returns all 5 starters, returned both wide receivers, returned 9 starters on defense. Oklahoma State has the potential to have a big season here. And I think they will start it off with a big showing on Saturday. For those who are wondering, because they did drop a game, I think it was Central Michigan a couple of years ago. Against the FCS, Gundy's much better. He's 15-0 all time against the FCS, 8-4 against the spread. So they're actually really good against FCS opponents. Now, you're getting a value line here because South Dakota State is a good FCS program. But again, I think they're outmanned here in this spot. So comfortable with Oklahoma State -10.
All right. Very good. The professor, ladies and gentlemen.
Couple more, Dave.
Okay.
That'll take us to 7:30 p.m. UCLA traveling to Hawaii, UCLA 14. This is a game we really should have taken a few weeks ago. This game was actually 17.5 at one point, if you remember. And then UCLA's coach went to the Pac-12 media days and gave a speech like he might have brain damage. And the line immediately dropped. People have laughed about it in relation to this speech. It's actually not the speech. It's that UCLA's really got gutted with the departure of not just a bunch of players, but also their entire coaching staff.
Kelly
Lost 4 starters on the offensive line, lost 8 starters on defense. And the defense was the strength of the team last year. I don't think UCLA should be laying 14 on the road in any situation, but we all know going to Hawaii, particularly early in the years, is always a problematic situation. And I think Hawaii is going to be an improved team this year. Timmy Chang bringing back by far the most experienced team he's had in his 3 years at Hawaii. 3-year starter at quarterback, 7 starters overall offensively. Bring back 9 of his last top 11 tackles on defense. I'm not saying Hawaii is going to be a powerhouse, but I do think from the disaster they were a few years ago, where Todd, the guy from Arizona State, whose name I always blank on, and where he left the team in ruins. I think Hawaii will bounce back, maybe contend for a bowl this year out in the Mountain West. So Hawaii plus the 14 at home looks like a good spot to us here in week 1. So we're taking the Rainbow Warriors plus the 14. And that takes us to Monday night, LSU, USC. This is a matchup we've actually focused in on pretty much from the start here. Lincoln Riley and USC, Brian Kelly and LSU, both coming off somewhat disappointing seasons last year. Obviously, USC more disappointing, 8-5 season after looking very good the year before. Kelly 10-3, and really the key in this game is who's going to improve more on defense. I think that makes it a very easy equation. LSU returns more starters and just more physically ready guys. Again, part of the problem we talked about with USC, when you watch that defense, it wasn't just the coaching, although the coaching was very poor. It was the bodies. I mean, you're looking out there and just physically, they're not as big as everybody they played, particularly along the line of scrimmage. And at the linebacker positions, they were starting guys, 215, 220 pounds at the linebacker position. That's not going to get it done in the Big Ten. And it's not going to get it done against LSU. LSU minus 4.5. And added on, USC has not been good in these opening season spots. I got throttled by Alabama, Nick Saban a couple of times. Big matchup out in Las Vegas. I expect LSU to come away with a fairly easy win, probably a couple score win
All right.
in that game.
The professor and some fine analysis, win or lose. The logic was there. There's no question. Now, you can't
By the
always
way, to
account for
answer
everything.
Sardi's question, Travis Hunter may actually be the best player in the country, but zero shot to win a Heisman, because after last night, Colorado's gonna not be good. Like 4 or 5 wins tops for Colorado this year.
Yeah, it did look bleak. No question. All right, are we ready, kids?
Yeah,
you got the production all set here, Mike Lubitz?
Yes.
Yeah,
The professor and the big board of what the sports world really is. All
We
right.
had a lot of revelations.
We talk a
in the
lot
last
about this.
couple weeks, and we're
Yeah.
not going to necessarily do an NFL big board as we're gearing up for the NFL season. But we've had a lot of people in the world of sports kind of show their ass the last few weeks.
Yeah.
And we thought we'd cover it because really there's a lot of things, including at least one down here locally, that are very clear what these people are. And that takes us to this week's big board, which is the big board of what the sports world really is.
Okay. Here we go. Number
And
5.
you're thinking, well, that's easy, Ken. It's terrible people. Which yes,
Greed is good, my
there's a
friend.
lot of them out there, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about slightly more interesting comparisons, and we're just going to show you what we're talking about here.
Okay.
And that takes us to number 5, which is Pat McAfee is a Coors Light party ball come to life and given human form.
Come to life.
For those of you who don't remember the Coors Light party ball,
No.
I don't blame you. It's pretty much a pure 90s, maybe early 2000s creation. What it was I believe 6 liters of just god-awful beer stuck into a giant plastic ball that you put a tap on, and then you literally had a party.
Yeah.
Mostly because it was Coors Light, a party where everybody has to go to the bathroom every 25 minutes. But again, look at Pat McAfee, created in the 90s and still very much embodies that aesthetic. This stupid cutoff shirt. Like, do you own a pair of sleeves, Pat McAfee? And he looks like a guy who would just carry around a giant ball of beer ready for a party at any given moment.
100%.
No doubt, yeah. It
Particularly,
was a stark contrast when he was sitting next to Nick Saban now on the ESPN Game Day set.
particularly, let's be honest, at inappropriate times, because Pat McAfee definitely does look like the guy who's going to bring a giant thing of beer to your 4-year-old's birthday party.
He does, yeah.
Guys, let's get crocked. Let's go.
This
Start
is
inappropriately screaming curse words in public for no particular reason. Like, honestly, Pat McAfee looks like a character from one of those movies they used to shoot at, like, ski resorts. Like the guy in the neon outfit who just wants, let's party! Like, that's what Pat McAfee is. Pat McAfee is a human Coors Light party ball. Somehow, a little magical cricket gave a Coors Light's party ball its wish to be a party boy. Pat McAfee
Pat McAfee
came into the universe.
Weighs in at number 5.
That is our number 5. That'll take us to number 4, which is Angel Reese is a flea market Gucci bag.
Jesus.
And I, look, much like a fake Gucci bag, she's good looking. I find her very attractive.
Yes.
She looks the part, right? I mean, you watch a little bit of her game, you watch her rebound, you watch her play defense. You're like, oh, wow, man, that's real. That's, that's high-end stuff there. And then you watch her shoot, and much like a flea market Gucci bag, it all just comes apart at the seams.
Serious bricklayer.
I have not known if you
Serious.
like. I've seen these comparisons. Oh, she's the WNBA's Charles Barkley. No, she's the
Dennis Rodman.
WNBA's. She's the WNBA's Michael Cage or Rick Mahorn. She cannot shoot at all.
Dennis Rodman.
I don't know if you've seen this clip from last week. They left her just standing by herself and dared her to shoot a 3. She missed by like 3 feet to the left and just barely grazed the bottom of the backboard.
I'm glad you said this. Yes.
Half her rebounds are her own offensive rebounds because nobody can believe she missed a layup that badly.
And they go beyond the scope. I mean, these are even beyond boulders. The bricks that she puts up
And
it's honestly
dead
it's not
inside,
like,
uncontested.
it's not like she misses in one place. It's like she's not consistent. But no, the first one will bang 4 feet off the top of the backboard, the next one off the front of the rim. Like, oh my God! Like, have you never shot a basketball in your life? You look like a 4-year-old playing Papa Shot.
I was gonna say the little kids who
it could go anywhere. It could go into the next cage. Like, that's how bad Angel Reese looks the part.
Yeah, she looks good. She's athletic.
She's big, athletic, strong. She look much like a fake Gucci bag. The minute you put it to the test, you're like, oh my God, the stitching is awful. And this thing just might fall apart at any given moment.
Yeah. I mean, I made that observation the other day. I was thinking, man, this chick really can't shoot. I mean, for all these double doubles.
All other parts
They're all based on like 4 for 18 from close range.
All other parts of her game made by Gucci, her shooting made at the swap shop without question.
Brilliant analysis on the WNBA, and we dedicate that number 4 panel to one Jim Sarney. All right, that's number 4.
That takes us to number 3, which is of local interest. And honestly, I didn't even create this one. It was given to me by a friend, but I have to use it because it's too perfect. And that is Miami Heat player Tyler Hero. It's not like the South Florida stereotype where he's like a coke dealer. No, Tyler Hero is a bag of cocaine that somehow took human form. The way he dresses, his big buggy eyes, how twitchy he is when he's out on the court. Like, if you just ask yourself the question, what would a bag of cocaine do in this given moment?
Yeah.
Watch Tyler Hero, and you absolutely have your answer.
Again, appears to be the human embodiment.
This isn't saying he's a cocaine user. This isn't saying he is a cocaine dealer. He is an actual bag of cocaine who somehow just dressed like this and started walking among us on the earth.
You can see it. Definitely, it's something that if you were going to transform what the contents of a bag of cocaine could do, it's
something about his gigantic, buggy anime girl eyes.
Remember when you used to get coke in? I mean, is that an enlargement of a small gram bag, or is that like a kilo there? Well, what is that? A pound of coke?
Oh, I didn't go that deep into my research. you and Tyler Hero could deal with how much cocaine that actually is. For all I know, that's baking soda. Give me a break.
Yeah, no, we used to buy it by the quarter ounce. So you could tell whether it was good right away back in the day before they started lacing it with, enough baby laxative to have you on the toilet for the next 6 weeks.
Which again, Tyler Hero does look like he's made of, 40 to 50% mannitol, baby laxative. So it actually continues to fit the analysis. What Tyler Hero really is, he is a bag of cocaine who somehow sprang to life.
Brilliant. All right, you won't hear that discussed on the Jonathan Zaslow show, I don't think. That's number 3. Number 2 on the list.
Number 2 on the list, and this is a man who, before last week, I might have been reticent to take a shot at, but I'm not anymore because while America loves him, I'm really growing to hate this person, and that is Kirk Herbstreit. Is a box of Thin Mints in human form.
Most of America doesn't love him anymore. He sort of
and we know your feelings about the Girl Scouts.
Most of America loves him, despite the fact that he is just goddamn awful. He is
true.
Foisted upon America by a false organization that everybody respects and loves, but is actually an evil plot. And if you don't realize this about Kirk Herbstreit, why is a grown man carrying around a goddamn therapy dog around? Why do you bring that goddamn golden retriever to you to every game you call and you put it all over social media? Oh, look, Kirk's golden retrievers with Kirk at the game. And what kind of grown-ass man has a golden retriever? That's not a grown man's dog, Kirk. I don't know what the hell is wrong with you. Just like Thin Mints, everybody loves you, but you're actually completely full of trash. Much like everybody tells you how great Thin Mints are, but they're crap that you have to freeze to make them edible. Kirk Herbstreit's like Mr. Good Guy. Everybody loves Kirk Herbstreit. Well, secretly, he's on the internet trolling Florida State fans.
Yes, 100%.
3 seconds after they lose to Georgia Tech, he's secretly out there. Let me punch them when they're down. Kick you in the neck, Florida State fans. Much like if you don't buy the Thin Mints from the Girl Scout, there's a 5% chance they will come back at night and burn down your house. If you dare to disagree with Kirk Herbstreit, he will come back and kick you when you're down at every opportunity. So, what is Kirk Herbstreit? Kirk Herbstreit is a human box of Thin Mints. And much like Thin Mints,
Oh my God.
where the Thin Mints, because the Girl Scouts keep pushing them, keep other much better cookies like the Samoas down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kirk Herbstreit, with his announcing job, stealing the good jobs, all the good games from other better announcers, holding back vastly more talented people than Kirk Herbstreit.
Brilliant. All right, that's number 2.
Number 1, and I'm going to say, people are going to say that I am just jumping on the bandwagon here, that I am just kicking a person when they're down because this person has been around this week. I would like to remind you, and Lubie and Defo can both testify, that I have despised this person for years.
That's
And that is, number 1, Brittany Mahomes is a MAGA hat.
Even may not know. Yes, for a long time.
Yeah.
And just because she has
A long
become
time.
Mrs. Donald Trump over the last week, this is not why I'm taking a shot at Brittany Mahomes. I have hated Brittany Mahomes for years, and I'm glad that many, many Americans are catching up to this. And I'd like to point out that this is not a political distinction here. I'm not criticizing Donald Trump fans. I'm talking about the hat itself, because much like Larry David nailed this a couple of years ago on his show, when you see someone outside among the wild wearing a MAGA hat, you know instantly that's an awful human being that I don't want to have anything to do with.
This is true. Yeah.
Right?
100%. If you actually want that to like,
Jackass who's going to want to talk about politics at a bar or want to tell me something great about Donald Trump that I don't really care about and don't want to hear, wants to tell me how the FBI's falsely persecuting him.
Yeah.
You don't even have to talk to Brittany Mahomes. You don't even have to watch her videos. You just have to look at Brittany Mahomes and know she's awful. You just have to look at her. It's not a resting bitch face. It's more like resting annoying Karen face. Like I don't have to hear you speak a word. I don't have to hear a single one of her opinions to know you suck. And by the way, I'm trying to keep this apolitical here. So just for the record, I think this of any people who wear political shit, left, right, Democrat, Republican. If you're a guy in a Men for Harris t-shirt
Yeah, like, come on.
that guys for Harris. Or I'm going to have some opinions about you right up front. Telling you, if I see you outside carrying a flag, wearing a hat, T-shirt, I don't care who it's for. I'm going to think you're probably a human being it's best to avoid. And again, the MAGA hat is really the OG of this. It's the original. If you see someone in a MAGA hat, you just go, oh God. if you're at a bar and you see someone in a MAGA hat, you're just
100%.
You're looking for an excuse to leave.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
chances are you're in the deep south.
this game's the game. No, not really. This could be.
Oh
anywhere.
no, Midwest. Yeah, no.
I like
definitely.
the game's in the fourth quarter. I really want to see the end of this game, but I don't want to be anywhere close to it.
Exactly.
Imagine if all the Ohio State fans wear MAGA hats to the Michigan game.
Oh Jesus!
Are they hosting
Anyway.
that this year? Yeah.
Again, much like, and not that I thought it was possible to feel sympathy for Taylor Swift, but I'm sure when Taylor Swift walks into the box at these Kansas City games now, she's just going to be like, oh, God, she's here again. I'm rich. Can I just get my own box with the Kelsey mom?
She might just buy the team. Yeah.
Do we have to be around this chick? Like, I don't want anything to do with her. Just get
the Hunts have been in the game long enough. It's time for a change.
Taylor, exactly.
All right, Professor. Brilliant job as always.
Hold on.
Yeah.
This one was given to me late edition, so we do have a bonus slide here.
Sorry.
Got a bonus slide. It doesn't have to be anywhere in the top 5. It's just a bonus, but it was too perfect, so we couldn't ignore it, which is, here's our bonus slide.
Okay.
Dan Campbell is a human pair of sentient Zubaz.
Very much so, yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Came perfectly out of the 1980s. Really fits more in professional wrestling than he does the NFL, despite the NFL color theme.
100%.
Very popular with men who spend too much time in the gym, and really nobody else can figure out why he's particularly popular. Much like Zubaz Pants. And much like Zubaz Pants, 30 years from now, Dan Campbell's still going to be around, yelling and screaming at people for no particular reason, flexing his 75-year-old muscles. Just like randomly, you still see a guy in like a Lawrence Taylor jersey and a pair of New York Giants Zubaz still wandering around in the wild.
They were so briefly popular.
I loved Zubaz so much. I never had them, but
Marino used to wear them. I'd see Jim Jensen was a big ambassador for Zubaz, or so it seemed.
Like I said, Dan Campbell is a sentient pair of Zubaz Pants.
But if you remember the people that wore Zubaz, they always.
And again, much like Dan Campbell, if Zubaz Pants could talk, I think they just repeat their own name over and over again. Zubaz!
That reminds me of the Zumba man at the track, who, as his horses were starting to come into contention, he'd be screaming and yelling with that Spanish click of the fingers, which you do with the thumb and the forefinger. I can't do it. The snap of the finger. Can you do that, Professor? Like when you were rooting in, a highlight parlay?
I can't do that.
Yeah. And as the horses were starting to accelerate that he had an interest in, he'd be yelling and screaming, Zumba! And, he occasionally
if
come up with a win.
Zubaz Pants could talk, I feel they'd speak much like Dan Campbell.
You ever run into a guy that you knew and you thought he was successful years later, like, and he's busted out in Las Vegas? Has that happened to you? You know your share of degenerates, yeah.
Yeah.
That's always a weird feeling, though. It's like, you were a Zumba man. What are you doing trying to hit me up for a 20 now to make a bet for you as, you're sitting down in some low-level sports book somewhere in the downtown area of Las Vegas.
Where we're all headed, Defo.
Yeah. I'm afraid it's Nick Cage time coming up for me.
We're all one bad enough runaway.
Yeah. All right. Good luck with all your plays, Professor. Excellent analysis as always. I hope the people are able to capitalize on that. Brilliant job on the big board. And thanks so much. Have a great weekend. And we'll talk to you again next week.
Don't wear political crap outside. I don't care what side you're on. One thing we should all agree on, no hats, no t-shirts. Like, just keep it to yourselves.
Or at least a pair of Zumbas. All right. Thanks, Professor. Always a pleasure. The Professor, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we'll be out Mike Mayo's Lunchbox at the racetrack today. That's 10 Palms, and always a pleasure being out there in the kickoff of what will be a Labor Day weekend, hopefully a spectacular one for many people.
Yes.
As we will see you again with this program on Tuesday, right, Lubie? Tuesday. That's when we're going to come line up next.
Tuesday.
So thanks so much for joining us. Have a great
Yes.
weekend, everybody. Have nothing but a good time because let's face it, we're all on borrowed time. That's going to be my new theme.
Be safe.
And we'll see you next time as we leave you
Hey,
know that. It's 9:07.
Time. Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done